Ah, yes. The news stories were storying last night. All right, Florida must stop expanding Alligator Alcatraz Immigration Center. This is as of today. All right, at fucking midnight. Yep. This is y'all's savior doing a tour of this bullshit. A new migrant detention facility at Dade Collier Training and Transition Facility on July 1st. Well, I got news for you. It's time to shut that bullshit down. All right, Miami. A federal judge issued a preliminary injunction Thursday halting further expansion and ordering the winding down of an immigration detention center built in the middle of the Florida Everglades and dubbed Alligator Alcatraz that advocates said violated environmental laws. U.S. District Judge Kathleen Williams' injunction formalized a temporary halt she had ordered 2 weeks ago as witnesses continued to testify in a multi-day hearing to determine whether construction should end until the ultimate resolution of the case. The state of Florida filed a notice of appeal Thursday night shortly after the ruling was issued. The deportations will continue until morale improves, DeSantis spokesman Alex LaFranca, whatever the fuck her name is, said in response to the judge's ruling. Rights of people held at Florida Detention Center being violated, lawyers say. The judge said she expected the population of the facility to decline within 60 days through the transferring of the detainees to other facilities. And once that happened, fencing, lighting, and generators should be removed. She wrote the state and federal defendants can't bring anyone other than those who are already being detained at the facility onto the property, nobody else. The order does not prohibit modification or repairs to existing facilities, which are solely for the purpose of increasing safety or mitigating environmental or other risks at the site. The preliminary injunction includes those who are in active concert or participation with the state of Florida or federal defendants or their officers, agents, employees, the judge wrote in an 82-page order. The judge said state officials never sufficiently explained why the facility needed to be in the middle of the Florida Everglades in the first place. What is apparent, however, is that in their haste to construct the detention camp, the state did not consider alternative locations at all, Williams said. Judge cites decades-long efforts to preserve the Everglades. Williams said her order gave the state and federal defendants time to wind down the facilities so that it can undergo the required environmental assessments. She noticed the three-quarter century of efforts to preserve the Everglades. Since that time, every Florida governor, every Florida senator, and countless local and national political figures, including presidents, have publicly pledged their unequivocal support for the restoration, conservation, and protection of the Everglades, she wrote. This order does nothing more than uphold the basic requirements of legislation designed to fulfill those promises. President Fuckham toured the facility last month and suggested it could be a model for future lockups nationwide as his administration races to expand the infrastructure necessary for increasing deportations. Environmental groups and the Miccosukee tribe had argued that further construction and operations should be stopped until federal and state officials complied with federal environmental laws. Their lawsuit claims the project threatens environmentally sensitive wetlands that are home to protected plants and animals and will reverse billions of dollars worth of environmental restoration. Eve Samples, executive director of Friends of the Everglades, called the ruling a landmark victory for the Everglades and Americans who believe this imperiled wilderness should be protected. It sends a clear message that environmental laws must be respected by leaders at the highest levels of our government, and there are consequences for ignoring them, Samples said in a statement. Miccosukee tribe chairman Talbert Cypress said this isn't the first time the tribe has had to fight for its land and rights. Hasty construction. The detention center was quickly built almost 2 months ago at a lightly used single runway training airport in the middle of the Everglades. It currently holds several hundred detainees, but was designed to eventually hold up to 3,000 detainees in temporary tent structures. Inside the compound's large white tents, rows of bunk beds are surrounded by chain link cages. People held there say worms turn up in the food, toilets don't flush, and flood floors with fecal waste while mosquitoes and other insects are everywhere. This is literally inhumane. At times, the air conditioners abruptly shut off in the sweltering heat. Detainees are said, randomly shut off. They're doing that shit on purpose. Detainees are said to go days without showering or getting their prescription medicine and can only speak to lawyers and loved ones by the phone. An ICE facility in the Everglades is under scrutiny for the treatment of their detainees. Witnesses for the environmental groups testified during the hearing that at least 20 acres of asphalt had been added to the site since the Florida Division of Emergency Management began construction. They said additional paving could lead to an increase in water runoff to the adjacent wetlands, spread harmful chemicals into the Everglades, and reduce the habitat for endangered Florida panthers. Attorneys for federal and state agencies have asked Williams to dismiss or transfer the injunction request, saying the lawsuit was filed in the wrong jurisdiction. Bitch, no, it won't. No, it won't. We meant to file it on you. Williams ruled Thursday that her court was the proper venue. bitch. Another federal judge in Miami dismissed part of a lawsuit earlier this week that claimed detainees were denied access to the legal system at the Immigration Detention Center and then moved the remaining counts of the case to another court. You see this? Just crooked. Both lawsuits were being heard as Florida Republican Governor Ron DeSantis' administration apparently was preparing to build a second immigration detention center at Florida National Guard Training Center in North Florida before they had to shut this bullshit down. Yeah, man. Yeah, shut that bullshit down. Waste the resources, bitch. We got enough jails in this motherfucker. Send them somewhere else, motherfucker. Y'all building shit to put niggas just to torture them. Fuck no. You know what I'm saying? The more you know, y'all. Good morning.